we moved forward with dispersing funds according to the published award amounts for the $2 million. This funding scenario is outlined on the cover sheet I mentioned, along with how organizations are sorted into those one of 8 levels based on their most recently completed fiscal year budget. And then their level is, of course, the second component to the funding formula. On the cover sheet, you will note a breakdown of recommended awards, how many organizations were not funded or are not recommended for funding. Consistent with our no funding rate in the past, 3 organizations scored too low with public panels to receive funding this fiscal year. Those organizations are noted in their respective level and indicated with a $0 amount in the recommended award column. I'd love to give a one more quick thank you to Commissioners Steinberg, Buckle, Ortega-Leonardi, and Typian Adlam for their service as panel chairs and overseeing our public review process for CCG this year. It's one of my favorite parts of this engagement process. Thank you so much for your consideration of these recommendations today. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have, and afterwards pass the mic back to Commissioner Wallace.
Thank you, Hannah. Oh, no, I'm good. Are there any questions from the commissioners on this agenda item? And if you would either use the raise your hand function or raise your hand. I'm looking at the screen. Okay. Do we need any more time? All right, then I'm going to ask for a motion.
I have a quick question, Dawn. Are we stating conflicts of interest for any of these now, or will that be later? Like, is each panel or each type of grant funding, will we state that conflict before the vote, or are we going to vote on them all at once?
No, we're going to vote on each. Thank you, Commissioner. We're going to vote on each as we go through. So if you would like to state your conflict before you vote or not vote, that should happen with each agenda item. Okay. May I have a motion, please? Okay, Art, can you make a, oh, there you go, Ash.
Sorry. I move to approve the Creative Capacity Grant award recommendations as outlined in our packet.
May I get a second?
Second.
All right, hearing a second. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. Hearing no nays, this motion passes. Thank you very much. I'll also remind everyone that on page 4 of your packet, the staff have prepared sample motions in case y'all need a little bit of a refresher. But the way that Ash did it was perfect, so thank you so much. All right, moving on to Brad. A2 Festival Grant Recommendations.
Thank you very much. Can everybody hear me okay? All right. Well, good afternoon to our Board of Commissioners. On pages 20 through 22, you'll find a summary of, as well as our recommendations for funding of grants for the fiscal year 2026 Festival Grant Program. As a reminder, this program, applicants can request between $1,000 and $5,000 to support project-specific expenses, which might include artist contracts, production expenses, marketing, and accessibility services. You'll see that this year, myself and Arts Commission leadership have again opted to award a small number of partial grants in the interest of expanding the geographic reach of the program. This decision was further supported by grantee feedback that even partial awards are still meaningful and helpful investments that help bring these project activities to fruition. Grant awards in your packet that are marked with an asterisk, those are funded specifically by the Flynn Foundation Creative Communities Grant Program. This is a special partnership agreement that supports small and rural Arizona arts and culture organizations. And we're excited to share that this year's 10 Flynn-specific grant recommendations reach 9 different Arizona counties. So getting some really nice geographic reach with the program as well. As you can see on the festival grant cover sheet on page 20, this year's application and review cycle followed in historical trends for the program. We received 80 eligible applications, 34% of which were from rural areas, also consistent with trends. These applications were reviewed across 4 days of public panel, and the recommendations presented to you would satisfy 78% of the total requested funding, awarding either a full or partial grant to 85% of FY26 applicants. Also, lastly, would like to extend one more thank you to Commissioners Wilhite, Dalkey, Ortega, Leonardi, and Hall for their support in chairing this year's public panels, which engaged 18 panelists from around the state. So thank you for your consideration of these funding recommendations. Would also be happy to answer any questions you all may have.
I don't have any questions. I just want to state that I do have a conflict of interest with Cochise College.
All right, thank you. Are there any other questions for Brad on this agenda item? Hearing none, I think we're ready for a vote. May I please get a motion?
Madam
Art?
Chair, I move that the commission accept the festival grant recommendations as presented in the board packet.
I second
And-
the motion.
Hearing a second, I would like to put this out for vote. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed say nay. Hearing none, the motion passes. Thank you, Brad. All right, so moving on to agenda item A3, Jose.
Thank you, Commissioner Wallace. Today I'm presenting on behalf of funding recommendations on behalf of Chaz Salazar, who is the Arts Learning Coordinator, who along with Delia Ibanez are attending the Western Region Arts Education Retreat. So these recommendations cover 2 learning grants. This is the Youth Arts Engagement Grant and the Lifelong Arts Engagement Grant. I'll take them both separately. So both programs support meaningful arts experiences, either for young people outside.
Jose, one moment, please.
Sure.
Art, did you have a question?
Just trying to find the page. I think it's 23.
Okay.
correct?
It's
Okay.
23 and 24. The overview is on page 23 and the recommendations are on page 24.
Thank you.
Okay. Jose, may I ask you to do A3 first, us take a vote, and then do A4?
Yeah, that's what I'll do. I'm just doing a
Okay,
quick
excellent.
introduction,
Okay,
and then I'm doing a quick introduction for both, but then I'll separate it starting with the Youth Art Engagement Grant and have you vote on that, and then I'll do the Lifelong Arts Engagement Grant separately. But I want to do an
Excellent.
introduction. So these recommendations cover 2 grants, the learning grants, the Youth Arts Engagement Grant and the Lifelong Learning Grant. Both programs support meaningful arts experiences, either for young people outside traditional school hours or for adults and intergenerational groups in community settings. Funding for each of these range from $2,500 to $5,000, and this year's applications reflect a strong mix of rural and urban projects. So let me begin with the Youth Arts Engagement Grant. You will find the overview on page 23 and the recommendations on page 24 of your packet. This grant supports art learning projects for young people ages 24 and under, outside traditional school hours. This year, 35 eligible applications were received. 31 came from rural areas. All 11 rural applications are recommended for funding, marked with an asterisk. Recommended awards meet 74% of the total requested funding. So thank you, Commissioner Steinberg, for serving as a chair on this grant panel. At this time, I would like for your recommendation, consideration for approval of the Youth Arts Engagement Grant recommendations as presented, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
I move that we recommend the arts engagement as grants as presented in our packet.
I will second it.
Wonderful. All in favor, say aye.
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 Those
Aye.
opposed say nay. Thank you. Those opposed say nay. Hearing none, the motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We can do the second one now, Jose.
So the second one is the Lifelong Arts Engagement Grant. You will find the overview on page 25 and the recommendation on page 26 of your packet. This grant supports art learning projects for adult learners of any age and intergenerational projects in community setting. So this year, 25 eligible applications were received. 20% came from rural areas. Recommended awards meet 83% of the total request funding. Thank you again, Commissioner Dahl, for serving as a chair of this grant panel. At this time, I will ask for your consideration and approval of the Lifelong Arts Engagement Grant recommendations, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions from the commission? If not, we'd appreciate a motion.
Happy to
I
help.
move.
Okay, there you go. Keep going.
Sorry, Art. I move to approve the Lifelong Arts Engagement Grant funding recommendations as outlined in our packet.
Art?
Second. Yep, I second.
Thank you. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, say nay. Hearing none, the motion passes.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you so much. Okay, agenda item number 5, Christina.
Thank you, Chair Wallace. So this is an action item that we're requesting from the commission this year, reflecting on sort of trends that we saw last year about a few minor changes to grants that came about in between the August supplemental budget meeting and the September meeting. So in order to make sure that there's prompt service to our organizations, the staff requests that the commission pass a motion to empower the commission chair to approve adjustments to disbursements for organizational programs during fiscal year 2026, as long as the total amount of the adjustment is under $5,000. This is recommended to assist staff with any quick adjustments after the initial recommendation approval.
Are there any questions about this? Do people need a little time to process? Art?
I guess the question, how many did we do? What's the size? How does it move the needle on the budget? That sort of thing.
It does not significantly move the needle on the budget. Most of these tend to be as we notify organizations and they give us updated fiscal information. It often is that they are shifting in their levels. And so the adjustments last year that we had requested was in the range of 1,000 to 2,000.
Got it. Thanks, Christina.
Simon, you're unmuted. Do you have a question? Okay.
No.
Okay, very good. Okay. All right, well, if there are no further questions, may I ask for a motion?
All right.
Monica, would you help us out with the motion?
Sure, if I can just get the gist of the language. It was a bit long, but I'll try my best. So I move to make a motion that we approve the commission chair, currently Dawn Wallace serving as commission chair, to make decisions for grants $5,000 and under. Is that right,
And
Chris?
Oh, adjustments. You know what? I'm going to put my apologies. I'll put it in the chat. That will
That's
make
okay.
make things a little easier there. Oh, I don't know why it's not sending. Can you see that
Yes.
piece? Okay, thank
Thank
you.
you. That's very sweet of you, Christina. So I move to make a motion that we approve. Staff requests the commission to pass a motion to empower the commission chair to approve adjustments to disbursements of organizational programs during fiscal year 2026, as long as the total amount of the adjustment is under $5,000. This is recommended to assist staff with any quick adjustments after the initial recommendation approval.
I'll second that.
Thank you, John Peter. With that, all in favor, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed, say nay. Hearing none, the motion passes. Thank you so much, Christina. Okay, moving on to A6. Kim is going to present the fiscal year 2026 budget for our consideration and approval. Thank you, Kim.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to direct your attention please to page 27. This is for the budget at a glance document. I believe everybody here is familiar with what that does, where all the budget numbers roll up into defined, easy to read categories. But we're going to look specifically at page 29, which is our budget detail. I do want to point out that this document that you're looking at contains both the fiscal year 25 year to date as of June 30th and the fiscal year 26 budget proposal that we're presenting today for your approval. Last year, we were able to provide for you the closeout for the fiscal year 24, as well as the budget proposal rather than a year to date, because the official statewide closeout happens usually early in July. However, there was a very large software update that, because of its nature, had to happen in the first week of July. And as often happens with software updates, there were a number of bugs that are still being worked out. And that forced the accounting office to move the close back until the end of July, when I was on vacation. And so we will have the closeout, the official closeout for you in the September meeting. So as I move through this document today, unless there are any objections, I would like to go ahead and talk about both, just point out some information in both the year to date as well as the 26 proposal. But what you will be voting on will be the approval of the budget proposal. Any questions? Okay, great. Let's jump right in. So on page 29, starting at the top with revenue, first we have the NEA federal grant. And after much drama with everything happening with federal funding, we are very pleased that the grant came in at the same funding level we had last year, plus an additional grant that was awarded to us for arts and health, and as well as the America 250 project. So the number you see reflected here is the final number of the grant that we will receive from the NEA. Moving next to the Arts Trust Fund, as you know from last year's reports, the trust fund came in at just 82.9 thousand above what we had budgeted. With that in mind, we felt it prudent to reduce our budgeted monthly amount from 92,000 a month to 90,000 a month. And so the number that you see reflected here is based on 90,000. We did receive our state appropriation of $2 million, which was wonderful. The Community Foundation Art Share and the Bill Desmond Fund interest, we hold steady on our budgeted amounts, as we always have. And then in the local account, which is our private grants and donations revenue. We did see a reduction in our private funding for 26, specifically in the Arizona Community Foundation, which gave us a $100,000 award last year. That has been reduced to $50,000 this year. And the Wells Fargo grant that for our community investment grants, that has been reduced from 50 to 35,000. This reflects for both of these organizations a return to fiscal year 24 level funding. So that's what caused that reduction in that number there. We are still working on other grants that might pop up through the year, and then we will pursue those as we have opportunity. We move into our carry forward numbers next. I do want to point out that even though we have not done the final closeout numbers for that, we are able to predict with about 97% accuracy our carry forward for both the Arts Trust Fund and the locals account. And so when we do our final close, if there are any adjustments in those numbers, it will actually be more than we have budgeted here, which will be great. And we will reflect those numbers in the fiscal year 26 year to date that we will present to you in September, rather than adjusting any budget numbers. If you look at the bottom line of our revenue, we have an increase of $10,000 more than we had in that we ended the year to date with in 25, which is really very exciting and more than we were able to budget in fiscal year 25, which given the current climate of funding, we're very excited about that was able to happen. That is a large part due to the frugalness of our staff, is we have been able to save money in our trust fund, or in the Arts Trust Fund, that made that increase in the carry forward. So that was really exciting to see. Let's move into expenditures. And you will also find extensive notes behind these 3 pages. They start after the presentation of the budget that I'm looking at now. So if you want to go back and look at any of those notes afterwards, you can certainly see more information there. The legislative increases, you'll see some increases slightly in from 25 budget to 26 budget. That's due because about every other year or so, we do experience small increases from the legislative expenditures and fees that we pay to other state agencies for services. And so we anticipate some adjustment in those numbers as well. When we get down to, I want to direct you now down into administrative costs, and particularly under agency communications. What these numbers reflect, there are 2 new lines there. One is for contract assistance, and the other is website updates. This is to provide funding for a part-time contractor who will assist Steve in working with our general social media, and also support for repair of critical issues we are currently experiencing with the agency website. And so we've provided funding for both of those. If we move into information technology, we have in the FY25 year-to-date column, you'll see a rather large overage under software subscriptions. That's because we were able to pay for the licensing fees for our database that runs basically the entire organization, Arts Commission. We were able to pay the FY26 licensing fees out of the 25 budget. And we did that not at the time, not knowing what our revenue was going to be. And so that accounts for that overage there, and is why the 26 number stays the same. So when we go now at the equipment purchases, you'll see an overage there also in the 25 year to date. That reflects purchases of computers that we were able to purchase for a number of our staff members. About every 5 years, we try to purchase or replace computers. And so Beth Ann brilliantly has us on a rolling cycle. Every year we try to purchase a few of those. All right, if you would move please to the next page. We'll look at grant and programs. In the Arizona Creative Aging, under the Arts Learning line number 2, there is a reduction in what we budgeted in 25. What's reflected there is that we had a 3-year grant that ended. We experienced our last year in 5. And so what the 28,000 represents is funding that we are providing that will continue the work that was laid out in the 3 previous years with the grant that we received. If you'll move down to the bottom line of that section under Poetry Out Loud, the Poetry Out Loud program is a program that the NEA runs and sponsors. We receive money directly for that program every year. That's part of our NEA grant. A couple of years ago, they increased the allotted money from 20,000 to 25. And so this year, the 50,000 that we have budgeted there in the 26 proposal will be the first year we've been able to actually match at 100% our match of that, the POF funding. If you'll move to under services, you'll see the teaching artist professional development. That program has been on hiatus for the last 2 fiscal years, and we're going to be able to bring it back. Then in the very next line, the arts education census. This is a program, the arts education dashboard that we have been created several years ago with the education department. And we split the cost for that for the last several years. This year, it will be funded solely by the Department of Education. Moving now down to the artist section of grants and programs. You'll take a look at the artist investment program. That's line number 2. You'll see a reduction there, and that is due to, where is my note there? Okay, so we had shifting program that happened there. We went from a very intensive cohort model that we've done for the last several years, and we've shifted it to a monthly workshop series that will happen in the spring. And so that accounts for the reduction in that line. Moving down now to organizations. In their top line, organizations, general programs, you'll see an increase in the proposal there. Sorry, if I get my next page here. The reason for that is that we are providing $8,000 in that 11,000 that will be used to launch a new capacity building workshops that we are providing for organizations in FY26. So they'll do a series of workshops specifically for organizations that will assist them in capacity building. If you go now to the next page of the budget proposals we have listed here, and I'm going to direct you down to under agency-wide operations. This is towards the bottom of the page, and particularly looking at, I'm sorry, please go back up to the top, grants and special initiatives. I apologize. We have 3 new lines there under this section. We have arts and health, the spring 2026 strategic plan programming, and America 250. Each of those lines, the top one is a $75,000 one-time NEA grant that's for arts and health program that I mentioned when we talked about revenue. And that also includes a $20,000 technical assistant grant from the Vitalist Foundation. And so that is included in the $95,000 there. The spring 2026 strategic plan programming, these funds are going to be used to quickly respond to needs that were outlined by the community as immediate priorities that we learned about in the FY26 strategic plan community listening programs that we had been doing. And then the next line, the America 250, this is a $25,000 one-time NEA funding for rural small and medium-sized organizations to assist them in work related to the celebration of America's 250th birthday, which is always a fun thing. Now, if you will jump with me down to the bottom section, in the last four lines there, you'll see it's line A that's marked with note AA, BB, and CC and DD, staff, professional, partnership, and program related. The increases in these lines are due mainly to consolidation of lines, where we've pulled travel lines together just to make it a little clearer in the budget. And so that's what has increased those lines there. Are there any questions? Director Park, did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
No, I think that was fantastic, Kim. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Madam Chair, I will
Christina?
turn it back to you.
Okay, thank you so much. Commissioner Dahl just came in, and I just want to make sure that you are, you know what agenda item we're on, and if you have any, questions, because
No, you can carry on. I just didn't have the link, so it took me a while to get in. Thanks for checking.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. Commissioners, are there any questions on the fiscal year 2026 budget proposal as outlined by our staff? Okay, hearing none. And Christina, you have no further comments? Okay, then let's, I'd like to ask for a motion, please.
Okay, I'll do my best. I move that we accept the proposed fiscal year 2026 budget as presented to us today.
I second the motion.
Thank you so much. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, say nay. Hearing none, the motion passes. Thank you very much, Kim. Okay, moving on to agenda item B1, Christina.
Thank you, Chair Wallace. So what you see in front of you on pages 35 to page 38 is our 4 funding issues that we'll be submitting on September 2nd to the State of Arizona Budget Office. These are given consideration, and then amongst all the other sort of state requests from different departments and agencies. And then this helps inform the release of the executive budget that's released in January by the governor's office. In it, you'll see sort of similar funding issues from last year. Before I jump into each one, I do want to sort of emphasize the importance of funding issue 1, especially this year. From the learnings that we've had this year, a general sort of overview of our revenue that Kim just went through is in a when the legislature gives us a $2 million single year allocation, that's about 50% of our budget. Another 25% of our budget comes from the federal government, and another, generally like 23% comes from the ATF, which is our corporation commission fee. And then we have about 5%, don't add my math together, but basically we have a small 5% that comes from the residuals from our endowment and as well as private funding. And to be frank, this year, 95% of our revenue was in, at certain parts of the year, sort of called into question. There was concerns about the National Endowment for the Arts, which is 25% of our funding. There was sort of the continual concern about a single year allocation from the legislature, which is 50% of our funding. And then also there was a defunding bill for not just our agency, but also the Arts Trust Fund, the ATF fund. So in this year alone, at various points of the year, 95% of our revenue was in question. To that extent, funding issue 1, which calls for sort of a request to the state to consider about a general fund appropriation to cover the administrative, so staffing, operations, the administrative costs of our agency, which was taken out from the general fund in 2008. And this is sort of a continual request to sort of put it back in. But considering how the federal funding and the ATF funding, which have usually been our sort of core bedrocks of stable funding for the agency, were called into question this year, I think it just makes funding issue 1 just especially important to give our staff the ability to have job security, to understand also for us to be able to project the year out, and to be able to know what our budget is, at least a portion of it into the future. So funding issue 1, again, calls for general operating support. There are various alternatives that you'll see in the 3rd sort of underlined section about if 1.5, which is the actual cost of our operating budget, is not possible, there's a consideration about a gradual increase of 5 million each year. And then also the impact of what that not funding our agency will continue to have on our staff, on our operations, and on our programming moving forward. Funding issue 2 is a proposal for 2 million. This is sort of a continuation of a general average that we've seen over the years of 2 million for grant making through a one-time appropriation from the legislature and from the state government. And this would allow us to maintain our fiscal year 25-26 levels of grant making, which again is a decrease of 60% from fiscal year 2024. Funding issue 3 is a continuation of the Arts and Health Plan. I have a lot of really exciting updates for this commission in September related to that project. A lot is moving forward. As Kim just mentioned, we have received additional funding from the federal government to start piloting programs. And so what you see here is 250,000 that's requested to really take that pilot program and move it to the next step, including the staffing that would require, as well as granting that would be required as part of that. Funding issue 4, for the commissioners that have been on the commission for a little bit, this is something that we put forward in fiscal year 2024. What we are hearing from a lot of Indigenous and tribal communities across the state through these community listening sessions is a need to really be able to provide these supports. And so that is why you see the Tribal Cultural Investment Program as a consideration for the creation of the executive budget. So with that, is there any questions that I can help sort of provide answers to related to these 4 funding issues?
Christina, Madam Chair, so issue 2, the $2 million one-time, is that a non-lapsing? Like, are you still working through the 5 million from 24, and then what? Is that just a one-time thing and that sets your grant limit, or does that mingle with other monies that kind of becomes something that lives for a while and you can live off of?
So every year, the language that we're given by the legislature is a little bit different. Sometimes it's very specific to grant making, and sometimes the language is more broad. It is general practice by this agency, knowing the intentions of those funds, to allocate all of that funding directly to grant making to get the money out the door.
In that year.
In
that
year.
Interesting. Okay.
Are there any other questions for Christina or Kim on this issue? I'd like to give it just maybe a minute for everyone to sort of process. I've learned through almost 20 years of marriage that not everyone processes at the same speed. So let's just give this 30 seconds. And then if we're good, then we can move forward with the motion. It's one of the most important things we do this year, and so I just want to be very thoughtful about giving you all an opportunity to think through any questions for Christina.
Madam Chair, I guess one other question. So Christina, how much interaction have you had creating this with your policy advisor? Have you gotten any kind of a vibe of like, hey, good job, or?
Absolutely. I think that building off of the momentum of last year, where we, or I guess 2 years back, where we have a policy advisor, the formation of these 4 funding issues, there has been positive conversations with both our policy advisor as well as OSPB, the budget office.
I had a similar question I remember in one of the last meetings that you had shared that there was bipartisan support to get the budget allocation from this year. So are you more hopeful with that bipartisan support that there is a chance to become a regular line item in the budget again?
I think that this commission has had a long legacy of bipartisan support that was even more emphasized in this last year's allocation of 2 million from the legislature. I think it's something that we acknowledge that it is a very economically, it is a tough year for the state. And so we hope to continue to work through with bipartisan support in order to really sort of emphasize all of the incredible work that arts and culture does for the state, for the communities and individuals. Did that answer the question, Nick? Okay.
Okay.
I have one. I have a question.
Simon.
Hi. Where does Arizona Citizens for the Arts sit in regards to these funding issues, and where are they supportive of the commission? Sorry, Christina, I had to ask.
I can't give you that answer right now,
Okay.
Commissioner. What I will say is that the Arizona Citizens for the Arts historically has created their sort of request for the upcoming year more into the fall. So the timing is they probably we often, because of the state requests in September 2nd or September 1st, we provide these funding issues and then share that information with our partners.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Simon. So, Colleen, Art, Ash, anything else from you all? No? John Peter, Simon, Nick?
Um, it's more of a comment. I just want to thank Christina and the and the staff for putting these funding things together. I know they're incredibly complex. They come with a lot of strings, and I really appreciate the thought and depth that's gone into this thinking. So thank you.
Thank you, Simon. Commissioners Buckle, Ortega, Dahl. All right. I think we've done a roundtable. With no further questions, I'd like to call for a vote. May I please get a motion? Okay, if nobody volunteers, I'm going to have to call on somebody. Art, you know the budget. Go.
Yeah, no problem. All right. Madam Chair, I move that this commission approve the FY27 budget request as presented by staff and in our agenda book.
I
Thank you for
motion.
Thank you. Thank you for volunteering, Art. I appreciate it.
I'm used to being voluntold, Don.
All right. With that, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed say nay. Hearing none, the motion passes. Thanks so much. Okay, with that, Steve, give it to me. Call to the public, at least one person.
I'm afraid we have had no requests from the public for comment.
Okay, well, tell your friends, everyone. Maybe we'll get one this year. But thank you so much. With that, we'll move to closing. I generally like to just close the meeting off with a very, very, very special thank you to our team that has been working hard through the summer to get us here, through the grants, through the budget, through this heat, through everything. We appreciate you so much. Christina, Brad, and I are actually physically in the same location right now. We're at Eastern Arizona College. I have never driven this far in Arizona in my life. Come to Safford, it's beautiful. The mountains are gorgeous. I regret not having come here before. I also wanted to let everyone know that our meeting in September will be in person, correct, Christina? So if we could try to get maximum attendance, we'll have a whole list of things to go through. And then I'd like to also take some time on the agenda to sort of talk about how we can, as a commission, work with our executive director to identify ways to make sure that we know how our staff are doing, you know, how things are how they're feeling about things, and then work on a process where we can get some feedback from our staff or our executive director that maybe would help guide us in, you know, in terms of our governance. So we didn't have time to really go deep into this in this agenda, and because I'm just talking, we're not going to discuss it. But we will be agendizing this in September and really digging into making sure that we as a commission are keeping an eye on the general feelings and satisfaction of our staff, our small but mighty staff. And with that, I would like to, we do a motion to adjourn. May I please get a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn the meeting.
May I please have a second?
Second.
Thank you. And all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed say nay? Okay.